mode.
I'm Ernie Humphrey, the CEO and COO of Treasury Careers. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us for our webinar today, Business Intelligence in Treasury, Best Practices in Reporting, Analytics, and Communication. I would like to thank our sponsor, TIS, whose strong commitment to thought leadership helps us make this webinar possible today. The evolution of the Treasury function involves more ownership of business intelligence and analytics. Does your company have the right methods, technology, and tools in place to make data-driven decisions? Today, you will discover how Treasury leaders can collaborate with IT, HR, sales, marketing, and other company leaders to identify, monitor, and manage KPIs that impact performance across the enterprise. Before we delve into the content, I'm going to offer a few quick words about Treasury Careers, cover a few housekeeping items, and review our learning objectives as they represent our value proposition to you in investing your valuable time with us today. Treasury Careers was recently formed from TreasuryJobs.com. We offer content and resources that empower Treasury professionals to own their career success. We have Treasury job opportunities, a vast array of Treasury certification resources, complimentary webinars like this one today, and we have a plethora of Treasury best practices. And stay tuned for even more. Yes, a new Treasury certification is on the way. Now to our exciting housekeeping items. The slides are currently available under the handouts area in your GoToWebinar control panel. We will send you links via email to the presentation and the recording over the next 24 hours. For any of you interested in earning CTP credit today, you'll need to answer all polling questions today and remain on for the duration of the webinar. If you have any questions regarding CTP credit, please send me an email at ernie@treasurycareers.com. We want to hear from you today, so we encourage you to ask questions at any time in the questions area of your GoToWebinar control panel. We'll do our best to get to all of your questions at the Q&A session at the tail end of the webinar. Fear not. If we don't get to your question, we'll follow up with you directly after the webinar. Finally, we appreciate your consideration in taking a short survey at the end of the webinar today, as we always strive to improve the ROI we offer our event attendees for their valuable time. Now let's get into our learning objectives. Again, this is our value proposition to you in spending your valuable time with us today. We hope that you'll be able to understand the value proposition of business intelligence done right at your company. We'd like you to be able to identify opportunities at your company to leverage business intelligence to collaborate more effectively with marketing, sales, HR, and operations leader. And we'd also like you to be able to deliver business intelligence to optimize liquidity and improve customer, supplier, and bank relationships at your company. I have a few more objectives that aren't listed here. First one is to smile. Yes, this can be fun. Treasury business intelligence can be fun, so you are going to smile today, whether you like it or not. And secondly, maybe most importantly, I want you to take an action. So I want you to take an action. I'm not going to be able to give you every single thing you need to deliver business intelligence at your company, but I'm going to give you the resources and content to ask the right questions and make your journey to delivering business intelligence and optimizing the strategic value of the Treasury function at your company. So we want you to take that action today. Keep that in mind. How are we going to accomplish our objectives today? First of all, we're going to talk about the value proposition of business intelligence done right. Then we're going to talk about how to leverage business intelligence to collaborate with marketing, sales, HR, and operations leader. We need to look at these areas as our internal customers. We need to understand what they want, why they want it, and we need to empower them to impact the performance of the individuals that work in their departments. Then we'll talk about how to leverage Treasury business intelligence to optimize liquidity and improve customer, supplier, and bank relationships. My esteemed co-speaker, Giancarlo, will speak to that part of the presentation. And then we'll close things up with some additional resources and closing thoughts. I love to share additional resources as well. Again, we're not going to be able to give you all the information you need, but we're going to definitely point you in the right directions. And we offer ourselves as connections to you after the webinar if you have any questions about the webinar content today. So, business intelligence done right. So I hear this word business intelligence quite a bit. So business intelligence to me is all about empowering data-driven decision making. So what does that mean when business intelligence is done right? It delivers enterprise-wide visibility. Here's something that we'll talk about throughout the webinar. If you can't see it, you can't measure it, and you certainly can't manage it. So we need to have that enterprise-wide visibility in terms of all the functions that are going on in our company, what's going on with our customers, those relationships, what's going on with our suppliers, those relationships, what's going on with our money, right? Where's our money going? Why is it going there? How are we paying? How are we getting paid? So the more that we put on our 2020 vision, the more opportunities that we have to optimize the value at our companies. So again, business intelligence done right facilitates data-driven decision making, and Treasury is the perfect department because we really have that best enterprise view. So we are the ones to be some of the data stewards for our organizations. So business intelligence done right facilitates more productive relationships. What types of relationships do we need to impact as a successful Treasury professional in today's world? Internally, Treasury, up and down the gate. If you're the treasurer, down, Treasury analyst, Treasury manager. If you're the Treasury analyst, going up and down that ladder, across to finance, the CFO, director of finance, HR, director of HR leaders, all your HR team, marketing, your CMO, your marketing folks, your operations, guys in plant, procurement. So we have the power to facilitate better relationships and improve the performance of all of these areas. What does that make us? Chief Trusted Advisor. We are in the catbird's seat to really impact performance across the enterprise at our organizations. What else? And this is what Giancarlo will talk about with customers. So as we facilitate that 360 view of our customers, and certainly in terms of finance, here's my history in finance. The only time I got to interact with customers was when there was a problem with our customers. They wanted to complain. We wanted to get paid, something of that matter. So that needs to change. We need to be strategic partners to our customers. We need to see what's going on, why we need to interact with our customers. CFOs need to be on the phone with sales calls, customer service calls. We definitely need to improve supplier relationship management. When I was in manufacturing, the relationships with our top suppliers were just as important as our relationships with our top customers. We need visibility into that relationship, and they need visibility into what we're seeing as well. And of course, in Treasury, I am a Treasury geek at heart with our bank partners, right? So how do we facilitate more productive relationships with them? How do we manage our bank fees? How do we manage our bank accounts? How do we manage the value that we get from our bank partners? But also, how do we understand the ROI that our bank partners need for us to give us the service that we need in order to optimize the strategic value of Treasury in our department? So again, BI done right. You want to enable that visibility. That visibility hopefully facilitates data-driven decision-making with the right analytics, the right reporting, the right information. And what we'll talk about is we need to go directly to these department heads and ask them, what do you need to be more productive? We certainly have ideas for them, but here's what needs to happen. We need to teach the other departments the language of Treasury, and also we need to be open to learning their language. So in marketing, we need to learn about SEO and things like that, and LinkedIn marketing, Facebook marketing. So we need to make that effort as well. So the more that we can all get on the same page in terms of our language, we can understand how to collaborate in terms of the information that we need. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to pull the levers with our employees that optimize the value that we give our customers. And what does that do? That optimizes the value of our company. So again, it gets down to what we're trying to do is optimize performance across the enterprise. So this is oversimplified. This is a different webinar, but we want to touch on this. So what is performance management that matters? You want to identify factors that drive company value. And we'll talk about this a little bit later. Some of the factors, we're used to the financial factors. Well, what we're finally getting to is at the end of the day, if you really think about it, what really matters are the actions that our employees take. How happy are our employees? How effective are we in incentivizing our employees to deliver actions that do what? Make our customers happy. So what's our customer satisfaction? What's our customer churn? So what we're going to start to see is these metrics that we're going to start to see, and the incentives are going to be based on non-financial metrics. We're going to look at optimizing non-financial assets in terms of our employees, but also maximizing the relationships that we have with our customers. What do we need to do that, folks? Visibility. So then we need to establish relationships between KPIs and value drivers. Again, we need to incentivize actions that impact performance. Again, measured, captured by KPIs that impact company value. So that's what we're trying to do. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, let's dive into the weeds a little bit, and then I'll let Giancarlo talk about treasury success a little bit. The first thing that we need to do is get our house in order. So we need to say, okay, what does treasury success look like? And we need to aspire to that. And then we have to help others with that analytical framework. What does success look like in HR, marketing, operations, and then how does that all flow up to our company's strategic objectives? So for treasury, what portfolio of metrics, financial and non-financial, should be used to define success in treasury? Again, I think we have to look at it now more in terms of a mix. We got to go financial and non-financial. So financial, we're used to these, right? We want to look to impact DSO, DPO, cash conversion cycle, some of the ones that I like even more, debt-free cash flow forecast accuracy, liquidity, surplus tests. But what we're looking at is as we move these levers, how does that impact the bottom line? How does that impact our company value? Like I said, we're going to have to look at more non-financial metrics. So how do the actions that we take in treasury impact customer satisfaction, the customer experience, customer churn? And then as a manager or someone that impacts productivity across enterprise, how do we impact the employee experience? So how engaged are our employees? How satisfied are they? Do we have the right people in the right places? So we have to play Dr. Phil a little bit, Treasury folks. I know that's kind of against our nature, but this is what Treasury success looks like. So again, let's get our house in order. Now, how are we going to help our colleagues get their houses in order? Before we do that, let me go ahead and take a few breaths here. Let me go ahead and launch our first polling question. So launch our first polling questions asking you, which of the following is the most important internal customer of Treasury at your company? And then where you folks focus your answers is probably where I'll spend most of my time in sharing my insights on how to best collaborate with these other folks that we need in order to help them maximize their productivity. So again, those of you who might be after CTP credits for today's webinar, I'm going to need you to answer all the polling questions. Of course, I appreciate everyone's consideration in answering all of our polling questions. And I'm going to say this too many times for you, but we want your questions. We have a fantastic opportunity to tap the expertise of Giancarlo. He's a tremendously brilliant individual, so it'd be good if you take advantage of the opportunity to tap his expertise. And so I'm going to go ahead and leave the polling question up for another 5 seconds or so. Then I'm going to go ahead and close those results. Then I'm going to go ahead and take a look and share those results and give you my initial take versus what I expected. So I'm going to give you the warning here. Those of you who want that CTP credit, click that polling question. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now I'm going to go ahead and share those results. And it's good to see. I'm a little bit surprised. We have a very big concentration in FP&A, which is fantastic because I think obviously FP&A and Treasury are becoming more aligned, and in some cases Treasury is owning FP&A, and that's really where the information is going to be valuable in order to help us look forward and be predictive and be proactive and not reactive. So 51% FP&A, we got 24% sales, which makes sense for Treasury. Not so much in marketing, so I'd like to see a little bit more in marketing. So let me go ahead and get back to the slides here. So the reason that I say I'd like to see more in marketing, I've been involved in some CFO research, and what I've seen over the past few years is when we ask CFOs what's going to impact financial performance, they really point to the effectiveness of marketing. So we need to pay a little bit more attention to marketing. So how do we collaborate with marketing? So we need to understand what is it that marketing can do in order to impact our company value. Well, we need a better understanding of our customer and prospect behaviors. So this requires some analytics. So we need to be a little bit proactive in there in terms of our analytical acumen there. So how do we help them understand the customer behaviors on our website, interact with them? How do we get them to capture the information in that business intelligence? How do we create KPIs? How do we create customer surveys? And one thing that I find that we need is we need to align on, as companies, we perceive that we offer a certain amount of value to our customers, and our customers might have a different perception. So as in marketing and sales, of course, we need to make sure that those are in alignment so that what our customers that the value we perceive we're driving to our customers is actually the value that they are getting, and make sure that if we're offering them value, that they understand the value of everything that we're offering to them. So we can also provide a framework for them to measure the ROI of each marketing program. So if I'm going to send an email, if I'm going to go to a conference, if I'm going to go to the Windy City Summit, what's the ROI for me to doing that? How do I tie that to new business, putting things down my sales funnel? So how do I put that? Every action, that mind frame you need to get the marketing folks to think about is you better be able to give me an ROI for every action that you take. It's just a mindset, and they'll actually start to enjoy it. I would say that you need an analytics guru in marketing. So you want to find your buddy in marketing who seems to have that acumen for analytics, and you want to engage this person. Tell them what we're doing in treasury and finance, and so let's engage that person. Doesn't matter if he's the marketing analyst, the marketing specialist. It could be the CMO. That'd be great if it was a CMO, but we need to get that person on the inside who understands the value of data-driven decision making. And then we can also work with them to ensure they're leveraging social media channels, and then understand the related bank. That's a new word. It's a bank. I got the spell check there, right? Bank risk exposures. So the bank risk exposures, the payments risk exposures. So these are slides I would print out, right? And so how do you engage marketing? So good question. A lot of times what I would do is I would take someone to marketing out to lunch. So take someone out to lunch. Just go over, and one of the things you'll need to do is to create a culture where no one is freaked out if you walk over and ask them what they're doing and what they're up to. So it used to be when we used to walk around, everyone would look at us like, oh, here comes Mr. No Finance, we did something wrong. We have to get away from that. So the more information that we have, the better collaboration partner we're going to be. So we need to go over to marketing and say, hey, what's going on? Let's go out to lunch. Ask them what they're doing, what their challenges are. Here's a game changer. Go and ask someone in marketing, is there anything that I can offer you in terms of information that would make your job easier? That's the best way to do things. So what do they need? You might not be able to help them, but just say, I think I could do this for you. Let's sit down with them, find a resource for them, take lunch into them, sit down and do an online course with them, learn with them. Again, teach them the language of finance, and then you need to understand the language of marketing. So let's go ahead and see what we have next. Quite a few of you were sales, of course. Again, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. We want to get more involved in the customer relationships throughout the life cycle and get away from the role of referee for customer issues. And we need to collaborate with our sales staff. We need to get invited to the sales meetings. We need to be able to listen to those sales calls. We need to get that access to Salesforce.com. We need to get access to the health of that pipeline, right? What does that pipeline do for us? Well, that gives us our cash forecast, right? So the more that we can help our sales professionals understand the health of their pipeline and how to report that information to us, the better our cash forecasting is going to be. What is that going to do? It's called working capital optimization, right? We need to help them understand how to engage and retain the most valuable customers. We need to put some metrics on there, right? We need to make sure our sales goals are correct. What are the margins on those customers? What's the cost of customer acquisition? What's our customer churn? What's the life cycle value of our customer? Again, we can help them with that information. Do they have information in Salesforce.com? They might not know how to use it. How do we make sure the systems integrate together? So maybe we need to combine information from Marketo with Salesforce.com, with my ERP, from my TMS. We need to be the ones that are driving that. Again, we talked about this. This is key. Help them access and manage the health of the pipeline. We talked about this a little earlier. Help them achieve a 360-degree view of each customer and make sure they have the right technology so they have the visibility and influence on each interaction with the customer. So that's key. A lot of the solutions out there actually have this chat feature, which I find absolutely fascinating. So in Salesforce.com, you can see the interactions with the customer. If a deal is not closing, you can put a little note in there, figure out what's going on. So it's fantastic for that. And then you can help sales leaders effectively communicate the value that your company offers to your customers. I think this will also help close deals and impact their performance. Again, sometimes there's a disconnect between our value proposition. We think we're doing this, we're the greatest ever, our customers love us, and then when we do some sort of survey or we get our customer meeting or customer conference, we're like, oh, and you have to be able You have to be honest. You have to be willing to accept that feedback. You have to let your customers give you honest feedback. You have to relish it. You have to use it. So my philosophy in my companies is I love my customers that push my buttons, that complain the loudest, because you know what? Once I turn them around, they are my biggest advocates, and they're the ones that are going to make me the best that I can be. HR. Okay, we all have issues with HR, right? Help them understand the need to educate and train each manager. So, and then how to embrace the dynamics of that multi-generational workforce. Skip down a little bit. There are actually human capital financial statements, and this is a subject of another webinar. If you want to learn more about human capital financial statements, just send me a message. So there are things that we can do. Again, we need to teach them the language of finance. And then we need to develop a framework with them that they can distribute to company leaders so that they can leverage to assess, adapt, and cultivate the skill sets and performance of their teams. This is just not something that is a known skill, especially for Treasury and finance. And you need some help with HR. You need to understand, let's look at Treasury. What skills do I need in Treasury Department to optimize the value that I offer? What skills do I have? What are those gaps that I have? Okay, do I want to fill those by training people up? Do I need new talent? So how do I fill those gaps? And we need to collaborate with HR to develop that network. And then we need to take this network, this framework, and we need to teach, okay, sales, marketing, so we're all on the same page and that visibility. So what does success look like in HR? What does a successful employee in HR do? What is an HR analyst? What success look like for them? How does that connect up to our company objectives? So HR. So now it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Giancarlo Londini to the webinar. He's the Senior Vice President responsible for global sales operation at Swift, also Swift Partner Management, and he manages the TIS Global Partner Program. He is a domain and product expert in the payments, bank productivity, bank account management arenas as the SaaS on-demand services. He has a strong multicultural knowledge, has been in IT for over 20 years, has expansive experience in international cash management, electronic banking, strategic involvement in global payment factory projects for large multinational clients. Giancarlo is a gentleman and a scholar, and it is my distinct pleasure to hand the floor over to him right now. Giancarlo, take it away. The floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you very much, Ernie, for that presentation. Hello, everyone. I am sitting today in Germany, in Waldorf, and it is my really utmost pleasure to be part of this very, let's say, key change, or let's say evolution in how we manage information in Treasury today. We have had experience across, let's say, world organizations, how difficult it is to manage information at best. So how do we do this? So today I'm going to try to reveal some takeaways for you of how you can make your best path to success when you do work in your organization, and we will try and provide you with the key elements which make you successful in Treasury. We will start with this first part, which is about transparency. So how transparency is key in for strategic professionals like yourself, making decisions within your organization, the advantage of having reporting information at hand at immediate change of events. So whenever events do happen within your organization, you can make also strategic decisions. And how could you do this without having the liquidity overview, the level of information about your banks, your customers, your supplier relation, and everything concerning working capital? This is what we're seeing in this slide. If we go to the next slide, we will also see how, for example, it helps you, it allows you to manage the cash flow visibility. So if you have that information in front of you, what you can do is obviously do better decisions. So if you do better decisions, then you have the control and the knowledge to do so. So you need that kind of information available immediately. And it's very important to have an insight to minimize the risk, because you actually are made aware of where the risk is, and you can have some solid business intelligence, we call it today. This is the wording we use, and obviously at various levels within the Treasury, within the organizations, as we've seen also in the first poll, where it really is important for you, that's where you want to have that data and it's accessible anytime and anywhere. If we move on to the first challenge in the next slide, we will see what Ernie said. Of course, it's very important. You can't manage what you don't measure. So please keep this in mind. This is a really important element. So if there is that missing visibility around that liquidity, about your cash flows, in treasury, controlling at the C level, how can you make those decisions without knowing what exactly is going to happen? So you cannot manage what you don't measure. So the missing transparency in the, let's say, in the relationship you have with those banks, in the position of that liquidity and your account turnover, if those elements are missing, then it's going to be very difficult for you to have real-time visibility, and you will not be able to manage this difficult challenge. So, but today we have a solution for you. So if we go to the next slide, we will see that the solution is very simple, but it's very important how to achieve it. It's using one consolidated reporting engine. So meaning you have many different silos within your organizations which are difficult to put together, they are difficult to extract data from, but there is possibilities to manage that. And if you have that central reporting engine to show you where the data, where the cash is across your company at each single account, and I mean really each single account you have today, then the solution is you will have a what we call a company-wide, unified and automated analysis of cash flow. That's the solution to this high challenge, which we see today through our polling questions, through all of the questions we ask to the different levels, accounting, cash management, C-level, treasury, etc., as also the analysis of the liquidity and the working capital in the various departments. Because you may be aware of one department today, but you don't know what's happening in the other. And those are the challenges you have mostly today. And if we move on to the next slide, we will see another very important challenge, which again, if you can't manage, you don't measure. What you don't measure, you cannot manage, is the lack of visibility and transparency, let's say, concerning the customer and supplier relationship. So what's happening with the incoming and outgoing cash flow? When is this data day? When do you see it? Is it coming in a couple of days later? Is the data reaching you too late? Have you got old information? You make a request, you ask those departments, send me the data over. By the time it reaches you, it's already a couple of days old. So you're making decisions on information which you can't measure correctly because there's that lack of visibility across the different regions, across the different systems, and across the different users. So this is, once again, a huge challenge. So how do we manage the solution? So what's the solution? We will look at this in the next slide. There we go. It's about, for the accounting and the sales team, it doesn't matter where you are, as well as the finance department, it's important to dot down these 3 points. First of all, visibility on when a supplier has paid, or when a customer paid, or a local subsidiary over a certain time period. So you need to know that data, because that kind of transparency in that flow allows you to pinpoint where the cash is right there in the moment. Second, you have to have an insight in the inflows, of your various bank accounts and key element of your ERP systems. Because sometimes you have one system which is feeding one data out, another system which is feeding another type of data out, and you never know when the one is coming from the other, and you never even know when that data has already been authorized and sent to the bank without having a clear overview, central overview about over a specific time period. Let's say you want to check what's happening in the next 2 to 3 days, in the next 5 to 10 days. You need to have some type of what we call short-term liquidity overview where you see exactly what's happening. And the third point I wanted to take away today, which is important because that's why Ernie and myself are providing this kind of deep knowledge into the treasury and business intelligence. It's having the insight into the inflows made by customers and overall payment behavior of the customer base. Now, this is really key, because if you can distinguish the various payments behavior, you can have a better understanding and a better decision process within your organization, and you can obviously manage this solution of having the challenge of having the transparency of your customer and supplier relationship. Don't forget, you can't manage what you don't measure. This is the solution we can provide to you, and it's absolutely something we have tested across the different, let's say, business cases. But we still have a couple of challenges which we want to show you today. So if we go to the next slide, we will see, once again, you can't manage what you don't measure. So no transparency regarding bank relationship, liquidity position, and account turnover. This is really very key, because the bank relationship means which kind of relationship are you managing today with that particular bank? What's your strength? How can you better manage it? How can you better change the way you manage your banking relationship? Now you need a comprehensive analysis of the relationship and the bank fees. How can you have it when it's spread across the organization and you are not the key person who has access to that data? And we've set around a couple of questions outside there in the market, and these are the typical questions that could not be answered by most of your colleagues, which is, how much liquidity is available at which bank? Now that's pretty a strong question, which actually every of us, even myself, when I worked in Treasury, I should be knowing how much liquidity is available at which bank. That's something I need to know to make my bank relationship management better. If I want to know the cash flow, the net cash flow of a specific currency over a specific time for a group of companies, a natural hedge, I should be able to access this information. But if it's in silos kept at different places, it will take me a long time to reach that. And the final question that could have been answered was, how much working capital does a local subsidiary require in a specific time period? Now, these are very key questions which should provide you the information that you need to have the transparency concerning bank relationship, liquidity position, and account turnover. So remember, you can't manage what you don't measure, but today we offer you a solution. So we look at this. So this is the way you can manage this complexity. So for the reporting and insight across a complex banking landscape, you need, one, visibility on bank relationship and structure, as well as fees. So you need to have an overview, like a tree view, of all your bank relationships at one single shot. You need to have a click of a button. You need to have that in front of you. Second, you need to have insight into the inflows made by customers via various banks, accounts, and ERP system over a specific time period. So how can you achieve this? The solution is to manage that inflow of information through one single point of contact, one single engine, where everything that has been, let's say, created or has been managed or has been seen as an inflow is seen centrally for you, that you have the visibility. Third, a multi-bank capable tool available anywhere, anytime. Now, what does that mean? It means that you have, first of all, a strength because you have a relationship with a bank, and having a multi-bank capable tool allows you to flexibly switch if you wish to do so, and you can have it anywhere, anytime. So if you need to do a strategic decision and you are the person responsible, or you aid those who are making that specific decision, you can help them because you have the right tool in front of you. And last but not least, number 4, a BI platform, which does not require changes to bank or system landscape. Why? Because it's fully integrated. It's already pulling the data which you require for your decision. And having that anytime, anywhere available, you're traveling, you're in the airport, whatever you are, you want to have that information. There's your CFO, your boss calling you, head of accounting, head of sales, head of marketing, and they say to you, look, Giancarlo, I need to know right now, because we're doing an M&A, we're making a decision now, what is the position in this? Do we have enough cash? Can we make this decision now, yes or no? And if you say, I don't know, that's not what is expected from you. You want to have an answer. You want to be able to provide this answer as quickly and as efficient as possible. So this is how we do it using these 4 points. So I think this is really, really a key final solution we offer today. So allow me to wrap up, Ernie, this last point, which is very, very important. It's about strategic treasurers of today do harness the power of technology to support their decision-making processes anywhere, anytime. And I invite you all to make the same decision which many of your colleagues have made today, is to make yourself aware and make use of that technology. It is available, so why not make use of it? Yeah, we make many international servers across all different continents, and the same element of truth comes out. If you do have the power of technology at your hand to support you, you will be successful. So what are the next steps? Where do you want to start? Examine your existing data and system landscape. Do you know where your data is coming from? How many back office systems? Do you know what kind of systems are you using? Where's the data from? Can you examine the processes and manual efforts needed to compile reports? Can you do this now? Especially the ones which are for your team as your C-level in making critical decisions. There is a lot of effort there. And you remember, you know yourself, manual effort can be also mistaken. So if you have something at a click of a button that does this effort for you because it has data there, real-time data, you don't need to do that effort anymore. And you can spend your valuable time doing some other key element, let's say projects, internal elements, and dedicate yourself to real treasury and not technology. That's what the technology is available. Last point before I hand over back to Ernie is consult yourself with experts on how to get the most current setup which provides you the maturity in your treasury department and optimizes in a secure and an efficient way the workflow management. So electronic workflow management helps you to gain that capability to process and make decisions in a very precise and efficient manner, and does not let you down, because you have the data. The data is there, ladies and gentlemen. It is there. It just needs to be captured in the right place. And myself and Ernie are some of the key experts, people in the market today, which have gone to a lot of, let's say, dedication, time, and analysis to identify these needs, identify the challenges and the solutions. And I really hope today that my contribution has helped you to gain access to this new type of information there is available, and new type of tools available out there. And I would be delighted if you would get in contact with us to help you to make your treasury department a really cool, optimized, and efficient workflow management. Thank you very much, Ernie. I hand over the word back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Giancarlo, for your fantastic insight. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go over the next few slides and obviously pull in Giancarlo for his great expertise. So I want to dive a little bit deeper on the technology side. So we're just going to have a little bit of a conversation here, Giancarlo and I. So we look at, what we call the old world treasury scenario. So what we'll see here is just, as you mentioned, that there's a lot of people, processes, systems. So the more players we have, the more systems, the more confusion there is. So what we're looking at from the new world to the old world is we're trying to get to that single point of contact. Can you speak to us a little bit and give us a little bit more color around how that data integrability works there? So
Yes.
That would be helpful, I think.
Absolutely, Ernie. I think this picture really shows what the world is about today. When we meet most of our honorable treasurers and cash managers out there, and also IT experts and accounting experts, they are challenged with the lack of integration. First of all, with their different systems, which are located in different offices across the continent, and they don't know how to manage, and they have absolutely the biggest challenge is to manage all of this information together. So what we have resolved for many of our customers is providing a single point of contact, meaning one single platform to collect any type of data, which is key data to make those strategic decisions, is meaning any data coming from an ERP system or a HR system or treasury system or a cash management system, whatever it is. It's a supplier payment, it's a HR payment, it's whatever, it's a manual payment. But I need to have, as a decision maker, that information available at hand with immediate effect. And this can only be achieved using a multi-integration platform like this one here, like TIS, and a multi-bank platform, which allows me to reach to more than 10,000 banks worldwide across 67 countries. So this is the numbers we are offering today. This is the type of reachability we want to do, because we want to be able to make those decisions, Ernie, at the strategic level. We want to make them at an operational level, and we want to make our workflow as efficient as possible. And we offer this technology today. We offer the expertise in this field, and we would be delighted to offer additional expertise to whoever would like to approach us after this very interesting and fulfilling webinar.
Okay, Giancarlo, I've got two areas to get a little bit more color here. So
Sure.
to me, there's two big areas here, right? There's the communications with the bank, and then there's the communications with your business system. So let's start with the communications with the bank. So can you give us a little bit more color about how leading solutions do this? Are we using Swift connectivity? Are we using MT940s? I'm sorry, I'm dating myself by saying MT940. But how is that communication facilitated with all those banks you mentioned?
Well, the great news is here, Ernie, that we have actually invested many years of, let's say, of resources and technology to build this based on the different channels. There are multiple channels out there. There are direct channels with banks. There are multi bank channels like Swift in countries, in the European countries. There are other channels called EBIX, and we have many other channels we make available. And these are basically the very available methods that you can use today to reach those. And each of them contains a lot of difficulty, a lot of complexity, which we have resolved for our customers. What we've done is basically we've provided, let's say, the flexibility to identify the most convenient and the most, let's say, effective communication channel, like you mentioned, Ernie, like Swift. And we also analyze the bank structure. So with which bank, in which country, which format, how are you managing today payments? And is there a smarter way to manage those payments using a technology platform like TIS? So that's from the banking world.
Okay, great. So on the ERP business system side, so do you guys using, it's probably a combination, but bear with me. So do you guys have specific APIs or specific ERPs and system, or do you work with your clients to custom program that? So how are we passing the information back and forth on that side of it?
On that side, it's important to remain independent from the back office systems. Why? Because your back office systems are technology which changes, which gets modified, it gets updated. So each time you build, let's say, a proprietary interface, which is basically just built on that particular technology, it will need to change each time you update it. So what we've done, we've created completely independent, let's say, integration tools, what we call web services, or correctly, as Ernie said, APIs, and they allow you to plug into the different ERP systems and automatically, without huge amount of IT involvement, take any type of payment data out of there and transform it and transfer it directly to TIS without having to do major implementation work around. And on the other hand, all the data we receive from the banks is automatically fed back to all of those systems for the reconciliation process. So I, as an accountant or as a treasurer or anyone involved in the business, can make my decision based on all the information. So we do collect all the information about cash and liquidity, and we provide this in a central manner using that BI technology we offer today, which is called the Business Development Manager.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So I'll just go ahead, make a few closing comments, and then we'll open up the Q&A session. So I want to remind you that we can take your questions in the questions area of your GoToWebinar control panel. So I love this slide. Fantastic slide for my colleagues at TIS. I would print this slide. So this is really what it's all about, right? So this is what it empowers us to do. Compliance makes us compliant, especially if we're global, right? The FACTA and all the regulations there, we need to have that visibility to make sure we're in compliance. The transparency, the visibility, we're optimizing the processes, right? We're taking out the manual items. We're optimizing the workflow. We're optimizing the exception items. And at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're lowering the cost. And all of these together are going to facilitate better decisions, not only within finance, but with our sales, marketing, and HR teams. So that's really the end game. So this is what it's all about. So I'm going to go ahead. And of course, you all have access to the slides. We have Giancarlo's contact information here. I'm sure he would love to have a conversation with you. Note in the post-webinar survey, you'll have the opportunity with a couple of clicks of your button to be requested to Giancarlo, and he will reach out with you directly. So I'm going to go ahead and launch our next polling question as we kick off the Q&A. So our next polling question is asking you to share with us the most important Treasury initiative that you're going to overgo over the next 12 months. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off the Q&A session. Giancarlo, I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question your way. So in terms, of companies that you have helped in terms of making this transformation, I'm sure they have some benefits that they expect from the project. Can you speak to some of the unexpected benefits that companies realize by having this level of transparency?
I mean, the kind of let's say expectation in this regard is mostly to gain control. So control is part of the compliance group. So there are many risks which are sometimes not foreseeable within the various processes, because sometimes processes are not clearly defined, and there could be some what we call backdoors, or let's say unforeseeable situations where mitigation of risks should be created during these projects. And what we manage to provide is a huge amount of efficiency in optimizing the processes, the reporting structure, obviously by using the what we call a collaboration platform, so where everybody can manage and see exactly what's happening. And that's how we, those are some of the elements which we have seen so far, which we've provided to our customers.
Okay, fantastic. Most of these questions are going to come your way because you're much smarter than I am. So next question. So the next question, which is near and dear to my heart, because not only did I used to manage bank fees at my company, I also used to manage the AFP service codes. So can you speak to a little bit about how the technology enables visibility into those bank fees for us?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the bank fees itself, I mean, you will be surprised, but there is already a lot of data available in the statement information you receive back from the banks. But you need something to actually read that data in a detailed manner, such that you can integrate it into what we call a collaboration tool, where those fees are controlled using fee management. And fee management it has two aspects. It's on the one hand the fee, which is visible at first through a simple bank account, but it's on the other hand, you may want a bank fee detailed analysis using specific formats, which are like the twist and the CAMT formats, which we all of course support, and we have also tools to enable the detailed let's say analysis of bank fees, such that you are made aware of some deltas that sometimes are being, let's say, paid to the banks, and you are unaware of. So it gives you a better position in front of banks when you do manage, let's say, your relationship. So going back to that bank relationship topic.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Next one is also coming your way. And this is something you can enlighten me on because I'm still confused on it. So what are your thoughts on the whole area of blockchain and blockchain technology? What do you think that might do to the payments landscape?
I mean, blockchain and blockchain technology, this is very new, first of all. So it's something which is it's part of the evolution of the what we call a virtual payments methods. and it will have to first gain some acceptance, and it will have to be, first of all, evaluated and certified in a certain manner. I mean, for what we call small transactions and rapid transaction, and virtual transaction, it can be something which can be basically adopted. And we have, as part of our product roadmap, one of the elements which we did look at is managing this type of virtual payments within the platform. So eventually, if the demand is there, because as a software as a service solution, there has to be some kind of scalability in the functions you offer, then blockchain will be something that could grow, but we still need to analyze and carefully define if the acceptance also from an electronic payment method is still there, like it was at the time when electronic bank account management information was sent and received through the different channels. So we're going to monitor that, and we will keep you up to date of how we do this. We will do some webinars, etc. So we will be definitely talking about this a lot in the next events.
Okay, fantastic. So Giancarlo, in terms of going from what we saw on the one slide was the old way to the new way with that single point in there. So let's say, for the sake of argument, we have a couple questions around this, that someone is in this really decentralized world where we have a lot of blind spots. I know it might vary by company, but can you give us an idea of how long it takes a company to make that transformation from that world of blind spots to that kind of that 2020 vision, and some of the things that drive how long that might take?
I will answer first the second part, which is what drives this kind of, let's say, this kind of transformation. It's usually the risk. So it's also the lack of visibility and control, but it's also the reduction of cost. So these are all, let's say, dotted elements which the CFO or anyone making the right decision for such a project will make. On the second hand, the time it will take to let's say merge from the old world to the new world can be very fast. And the reason is because all of that technology has been thoroughly tested and it's up and running as we speak today. So companies, when they make the decision to jump onto this moving train, they basically are using the technology which is available, and the decision within the organization can be very fast, and the onboarding process can take, let's say, the fastest ones we had was within like 6 weeks. We had a company organization built into the TAS, and we had already the first ERPs and the first banks up and running. So it's all a question of well-organized transformation, and we are the experts in this area to demonstrate and provide you that kind of, let's say, rapid approach to manage that data and to get it into the system and up and running fast. So it can be very fast, but it really depends on the complex banking landscape that we sometimes are faced with and how that is tied to the back office systems.
Okay, great. I'm going to give you a break, and I'm going to take a question for myself. So,
thank you.
So, of course. So we have a few questions around, how to build these meaningful relationships. So, and I was never really this way, but most people in finance and treasury aren't the most outgoing people in the world, and it's not our fault, but sometimes at our company we have the reputation of being Mr. No. So first of all, you have to be authentic. So if you're not funny and outgoing, don't take it too far. You need to be authentic, but you can definitely take baby steps. So here's a story from a CFO. One CFO that I knew, he just started going around every day and kind of talking to people and checking in. Every morning he would spend 15 minutes, a half hour. At first, people will look at you like, what planet are you from? But like I said, people kind of get used to that. And then you also have to pay attention. I think the biggest thing is listening, and I'm still not very good at this. If you are an effective listener, you will be amazed at how much you will learn and the opportunities that you will get. So for me, I always talk too fast. So this is a great stat. People say, I've seen research that says the average person listens for 9 seconds. So think about that. It's really true. So throughout those conversations, if you don't know someone, maybe you know someone who hangs out with them at work, find out what their personal interests are. But you've got to build these relationships. You have to build this trust. Some of the things that we used to do is we would have lunch meetings. If you buy people lunch, they will show up. So one of the things that I did when I was in Treasury, we actually did a lunch presentation, and I went through an hour, and I just showed people how cash moves back and forth across the company. And then as everyone in the audience, I explained how they fit in there and how the great job that they did helped us optimize cash. So people will be amazed, and people will take an interest in what you're doing. They just don't know. So again, I think it's about finding ways to teach them our language and then listening to them. So another great idea which I had, and this depends on your company. What this one CFO did was he had interns. So there was a CFO. What he would do is he would say, I want an intern from your marketing department to work with me for 2 weeks, and I'll send someone from finance to work in marketing for 2 weeks. Imagine that. That is genius. So I would encourage that. So you can do these internships kind of across borders. So that's another way to do it. But again, be authentic. And this is a conversation I'm happy to take offline as well. You have to start somewhere. But at the end of the day, if you approach someone and convey that they're your internal customer and you're authentic and I'd like to know, is there information that I could get to you or analytics that we could offer you that would help you and make your job easier? Believe me, the folks will be very receptive. So I'm going to go ahead and launch our last polling question, but I'm going to also hit Giancarlo here with a few more questions before we wrap up the Q&A session. I guess what I'll ask you is just one final question, because I've given you a lot on the Q&A side. So can you give us a sense of what's next in this area of business intelligence? Maybe give us some of the features that were rolled out this year, and then where you're looking to take this even further for us.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, the first, let's say, evolution element we provided is the access to that kind of data management, data flow concerning all the different relationships, the let's say the key elements which provide you that strategic level of decision to be effective in your daily operations, will be also effective from a strategic perspective and give you that insight anytime, anywhere around the various, let's say, key elements which are in Treasury. Now, that's the first, let's say, version of this evolution, and we are going to be going much deeper and much, let's say, much further down the level of detail of filtering, managing data, putting bookmarks, adding information, exporting data, making presentation, making storyboards, etc., using this technology to enable our colleagues in this very challenging and very fast-moving world to have the type of technology which enables them to look down the road to global or even strategic payment factory solutions with various specific treasury hedging and netting and in-house banking technology. This is the next level which we are currently developing, and will produce will have an incredible impact on the business, which will be able to provide the level of intelligence, the business intelligence that manages all of those challenges which we looked at today.
Okay, great. Absolutely fantastic. And then just to kind of, take that a point further. So again, it's all about what we're trying to do is we're trying to learn to look forward instead of look backwards. So we're taught to look backwards. We need to look forward. And what this does at the end of the day, it gives us business agility. And business agility is key to competitive advantage in today's world. So I want to point out a few additional resources. Again, all these are hyperlinks in your slides. Dimensions of Treasury Success, that's an article that I wrote that talks about the evolution of the Treasury function, some information on the TAS Business Discovery Manager, some great resources in the TAS Knowledge Center, and then we've got some additional resources, of course, on Treasury Careers. So a few closing thoughts. Of course, first and foremost, I have to thank Giancarlo for his great content and insights. It was a pleasure. And also like to thank our webinar sponsor, TIS. We sincerely appreciate their commitment to thought leadership, and it's evident in the great content they delivered today and the resources they offer, which you can review by visiting the TIS website. Please note you have the opportunity to be connected with Giancarlo and learn more about TIS via our post-webinar survey. Please take the survey. We want to get better. And finally, to you, the audience, thank you so much for your valuable time. If you have any questions about the content we covered or about Treasury Careers, please email me at ernie@treasurycareers.com. Make the rest of your day great, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.